So, hey guys, and thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Speakeasy Interviews. I am excited as always, right, guys? Because I have Miss Nigeria. Ooh, I love her name. Sidebar, every time I looked at my calendar's date for today, it just made me so excited because one of my destination trips that I want to do is to Africa. And so it was like kind of like that like reminder, like you're getting closer to it. So that's just a side note. But thank you guys for joining us. Guys, you know that literally we talk about the behind the scenes of what it is to be a speaker or an author. We know that everybody talks about the glam and the glitz and, oh, I want to get on Oprah's couch. But the reality is that there's a lot of things, bumps and bruises that happen behind the scenes. But that's not to say that it can't get done and that we can't be successful at it. So, Nigeria, tell them a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into some conversation questions.
Okay, absolutely. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. I love your interviews. I love your lives. You have so much personality and a real joy and love for teaching us. So thank you for having me, first of all. And so about me, let's see. So should I do the author typical bio or a little, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. So one, you know what? My favorite color is blue, and I love pralines and cream ice cream. And I am the award-winning author of Born at Dawn. I received the Phillis Wheatley Award in 2015 for first fiction. And I'm also the author of 3 other books. My most recent book was Pursuing Your Passion in a Godly Fashion. And in between writing the books, I'm raising 2 beautiful brown babes. And I have a husband, and we reside in Harlem, New York. Harlem in the building, New York. What up?
Yes. I love it. Now, of course, we're sending, hugs and prayers and support, because we know that in New York, we just had an incident where there was a bombing in one of the train stations.
Yes.
Luckily, there were not lives lost in that particular situation, but it just goes to show that everyday life is everyday life. And it's changing the dynamics of what everyday life is. For us here in the States, it is completely changing. But that also can be said for, being an author. The everyday life of an author is not what you would typically think. Like, we can't get up in the morning and yawn and the birds are chirping and then we just go and write and write and write and write. It doesn't work that way. And so Nigeria just told you guys that she has 2 kids and she has a husband. So guys, guess what? When you have a family, there's a whole other dynamic that comes into play with putting time, setting apart time for you to write, getting your inspiration. Emergencies happen. So in thinking along that lines, what have been some of the pros and cons for you with being a mother and a wife and still trying to get books published? Because you have 4 out, right?
Yes. So let's see, pros and cons. So one of the pros definitely is having children and being an author. They're like my biggest cheerleaders and supporters. And so they love going to school and telling everybody at school that I am an author. And so I walk in and like the whole school, they're like, can you come for everybody reads? Can you do this? Can you do that? Because the kids told me you're an author. And so they love bragging about it. And so for them, I'm a big celebrity. And they're like, you're on Google, Mom. You are out there. So I'm like, okay. Great, thank you. So even when I'm like, no, I'm not a celebrity, they're like, yes, you are. Your book's in the bookstore. And so it's a big deal for them. And so that's one of the really great, things about it. It's just having them celebrate it, and it's activated a lot of stuff in them. And I see them starting to do what they're passionate about. And they're like, I can be anything because Mom said so, and she's doing it, and I can do whatever I want. And so that's definitely is a pro in it. I think the con, though, comes when it's scheduling, trying to figure out and working around, because your characters don't always show up in your head at the most opportune times. And also bridging, because people can't see what's in your head. So they don't always understand what you're doing. And especially my husband is not creative. So he works a more traditional job. And so a lot of this, when I try to explain it, he's like, yeah, whatever. And then it's like, you're not doing anything. Are you working? What are you doing? Like, it's hard explaining it. It's hard when you're processing and he's talking and I'm like, he's like, you're not really listening to me, are you? No, I'm writing my whole next book. You're right. I'm not listening. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've had those conversations. You made a very valid point right there. No, characters and book ideas do not come at the most opportune moments. I have to walk around with a pen and paper always. But I love it because, just like you said, my youngest daughter is 13. And we had a conversation the other day, and they were doing something and looking up their parents. And she said, oh, I can Google my mom. Hold on. And she just went and Googled. She said, yeah, this is an interview she did. She spoke here. This is one of her books. She has 7 out and number 8 is coming. And she has, and I just went, you didn't do that in the middle of the class. She said, yes, I did. She said, no, Mom, yes, I did. I said, oh, okay, great. I said, what did the rest of the kids in the class say? She said, they just look like, oh, that's your mom. She said, yeah. And she did this and this, and it's even more stuff coming next year. But it definitely pushes them to that next level because my youngest daughter started her own painting company.
See, exactly. It does something for them. My oldest daughter, she was selling her bracelets, and last year I hosted an event, and she was the official vendor for the event. So she created her bracelets, sold her bracelets there, and she also works with me. So she's my executive assistant, and so it was so crazy because I was trying to get her to help me during the event, and I was like, wait, I'm missing this. Can you find this? And she's like, right now, I'm off the clock. What? I have my own table to take care of. You really got to figure this out, Mom. I put it in this bag over there. You got to figure it out. And she was like,
we got to love it. It's different. And I think about it because my mother worked a traditional job. And I watched her, live paycheck to paycheck. I watched her work 2 jobs at a time just to make ends or try to make ends meet, because we know that they never really meet. They never really come together. And that idea, shifting that idea and trying to do something different than what you've always seen, oh my goodness, it's so difficult.
It is. It takes a leap. It's a leap and a bound. And it's just like I watched my mom, and my mom always wanted to be a nurse. And she started going to school, but with having us and then having to feed us, clothe us, and take care of us, she couldn't do all of it. Or at least she felt like at that time she couldn't do all of it. So she wound up stopping, but she was still working in healthcare. And she worked in a hospital, and she was a supervisor. She was administrative, but she was always mindful to tell me, you can do it. You can be anything you want to. And she was always encouraging me to write and write and write and write. And she never, I've seen so many authors who are like, their families did not validate their gifts, and they told them it wasn't important. Don't do that. Don't waste your time. But she never saw it as a waste of time. She fully embraced it my whole life and really pushed me to do it. And it's a shift. It happens in steps. So she told me I could do it. And now I'm able to show my kids that they can do whatever they want. And then whatever they become, some days they're like, regular kids. They're like, I don't want to work this hard, Mom. Can I just watch TV? And I was like, okay, go ahead. YouTube your brains out. Go ahead. But tomorrow we begin again. Okay, you got to be on top of things. And I'm like, while you're with me, you can be successful. When you're an adult, whatever you want to be, that's going to be up to you. But you'll have the tools to be what you want. It won't be because you have to, like, I have to work at McDonald's, and that's why I work at McDonald's. If you want to work at McDonald's, it's going to be because that's what you chose to do, and you had that option, not that you were stuck there.
Oh my goodness. So I I had a conversation with my oldest daughter, and she's in the process of, she's getting ready to do her first job. And again, we were inner city, I was born and raised in Philadelphia. We've been in Elkton in Maryland for about 8 years. So it's been a completely different, a different experience for them growing up. Completely different. Like no sidewalks, around the corner from an orchard, there's farmland all down the street, completely different. And she said, "You know what, Mom? I think I want to work on a farm." And I said, "Huh?" Okay. You get that mom mom mindset just pops in, and you're just like, "You just say you wanted to work on a farm? Oh my goodness, my house is going to smell like why?" But being in the city, being in Philadelphia, that never would have been something that would have crossed her mind. She wouldn't have had that experience. She wouldn't have had that, that idea. And she was just like, "Yeah, I think I want to work on a farm. Am I able to?" And I said, "Uh-huh." And she said, "Can we find out how to do that?" I said, "Uh-huh." I can't empower them and then unempower them. It doesn't work that way. It definitely doesn't work that way. And so, I appreciate that. I gotta, it's going to be interesting if she does, we may have to hose her down outside and before she comes in, but we'll figure it out. It's different. It's definitely different.
Breaking barriers. She may be, integrating. There are not a lot of, we don't hear about them. I'm sure there are some African American farmers, but of course we don't hear about them. So she could be the one who's bringing light. She could be creating solutions, change with this new, millennial approach. She'll have those farmers on an app, like it.
Exactly. I was just like, in my mind, you just go, okay, there's so many opportunities that she can bring to this. Not just that it can bring to her, but so many opportunities she can bring to that area. I said, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna be a farm mom. That's not one of the it's not one of the typical names you get, but I guess I'll be a farm mom. Oh, the joy. But this is what happens when you think of being an author or speaker. When you empower your children, like when you're doing what it is that you love, you're working in your passion and your purpose, you're empowering them every day. They see the good, the bad, the ugly.
Absolutely.
They do. They see when you're like, okay, we're like really tight on budget. Okay, we're really doing great on budget. Let's go do something extra. They see all of that. And I think for us, it's more of, we want to show them as much of the process as possible.
Yeah, so they can understand it. There was one day, I remember taking them out and we went like walking and selling the books. Like, walking, we're selling the books. And then I had them, one of them was holding the mailing list, like, hey, sign up, join the mailing list. And that particular day, I actually didn't sell any books. Like, we must have walked like 10 blocks. That day, I didn't sell any books. We had a few people join the mailing list, but I hadn't sold any books. And, so one of my daughters was like, well, what was the point of this? Because nobody brought anything. And so I was like, yeah, well, some days in business are good days and some days they're not. And you need to know how to respond. So am I not going to write any more books because nobody bought anything today? Or am I going to continue? What would you do? And so, my youngest daughter was like, I think you're a great writer, Mom. Like, she couldn't even read them. But, it was just like, I think you're great, Mom. You should keep writing. Exactly. So you're great. Whatever you do, you're going to be great. But every day, the world won't receive you or perceive your greatness. You still have to continue walking in that, though.
Ooh, that's powerful. I love that one. Yes, every day you're going to have to walk in your greatness, even if the world doesn't see it the way you see it. That says a lot. That speaks volumes.
And
value.
That's what we have to teach them and show them. And I think, and especially in today, it's so important because today's society we're doing a disservice to kids. Like everybody's a winner, everybody gets an award, everybody's special, and then they grow up and they have to apply for a job. And everybody can't get the job. Everybody can't get the promotion. Everybody everybody can't fit in the corner office. What happened? But our kids are getting to learn what it's like to really win in life and what it's like to still win when you're losing.
Yes. Yes, indeed. I know, and they make fun of me because of it. But the joke is, mom tells us, if you say you're going to do it, then go after it. Go for it. Don't say you're going to do it and then second guess yourself.
Exactly.
Mom isn't having it.
And just show up. You gotta show up. You have to show up no matter what it looks like. You have to show up. Show up for yourself. Show up for, I like to, very often we're encouraged as parents to do things for our kids. And a lot of, especially women, they bear this burden on their shoulders. And it's like, you got to do it for your kids. And you got to be, but a lot of days when I show up, before I show up for them, I show up for the 4-year-old me that said, I'm going to be a writer. The 4-year-old me that said, I'm going to be an author. I owe that girl the life I promised her. Don't go back on your word to yourself. Serve yourself first and then serve the world. Because if you are empty, you can't really serve anybody else anyway. So you got to continuously show up and remember why you're doing it. And your why is not just going to be limited to, I'm doing it for the kids or I'm doing it for this person. But why are you doing it for you? Even that, just get in touch with that you. And if people, it's okay to be selfish. Do what you're doing for you and make sure that joy is in there for you. Even Jesus, it said he endured the cross, despised the shame for the joy that was seated before him. He knew he was going to get a reward too. It wasn't just our entrance into heaven. It wasn't just our redemption. But when I get back, I'm going to see my Father again. When I get back, I'm going to sit in my seat again. Do it for you too.
And I think a lot of times they get a mixed description of what that means when it comes to people being an author. Because you're always, you don't judge a book by its cover, but the reality is people do judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
So they get so kind of caught up in trying to make the book perfect for the reader that you forget that it's a part of you.
And you've got to still be satisfied with it. You still got to be enthused about it. You still got to love what you are producing and creating. And that's, one of the things, whenever I do an interview, people always ask, like, what would you tell new writers? Do not write the story that you think is going to sell. Do not write the story that is trending. Write the story that you want to tell. Don't try and catch up with the trend, because at some point in time, there's an end.
Yes,
do
indeed.
What is in you. That will outlast you. That will outlive you, even if it's not what you want it to be immediately. There are times you never know what it will become later on. How many undiscovered gems and jewels, when it finally bursts on the scene and captures the light, you want to be that gem. You want to be that hidden jewel and that hidden treasure, and you don't want to miss it because you were trying to keep up with the trend and get lost in the trend.
Exactly. And I went through a list of things that you could write about, because that's the other thing is people always get into, I don't have anything to write about. Why don't you? You do. And I think about, the show Zoo on Netflix and how it's from a book. And I'm not somebody that watches TV because I'm always doing something, moving, shaking. With 4 teenagers, listen, we got musicals and concerts and talent shows and this and that. It's always something going on. But for the first time in a long time, I sat down and just was like, okay, let's watch a show. And turned on Zoo. And in a week and a half, I was able to watch all 3 seasons. But it made me want to go back and read the books.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just like, wow, your thought process through this whole thing was amazing. I don't know where you came up with this. I just wanted to go back and read the books. We forget because we're so interested in trying to get to that point where, oh, my book is now a show, that we forget that somebody has to be interested first as a book.
Say it again for the people in the back.
We forget, and we're trying to get on Oprah's list. We're trying to get on her couch. No, somebody has to be interested in the book as a book, just as a book.
The story.
You write your heart, somebody's going to be interested in that. It may or may not make it to being a show, but you got to start with it being just the book and be okay with it.
Mm-hmm. You really do. You have to start with it being a book. You have to start with it and be feeling really good about what you created, and even being okay with, because like you said, a lot of people we're living for a highlight reel. We're living for all of these Instagrammable moments we want to create in our lives. And we live for that sometimes and not recognizing the cost. And so, I once attended a fireside chat with Benilde Little, and she talked about the success she had with her first book. It was so amazing. It blew up. And she was like, but it was probably the worst thing that could have ever happened to me, because I've never been able to match that success. My publisher was putting me under this enormous pressure. The other books are not living up to that. When I discussed it with my husband was like, what did you think? This is as good as it gets. You're already at the top. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we want to catapult to the top and don't even think about what's it going to take or cost us to stay there. When you learn how to climb the steps, it gets even easier to be at the top. And so you can't be caught up in what is going to be in the future, and the future, and the future, future. And you don't even know, just like you started out saying, we had a terror attack here in New York. You don't know how close the future is going to be to you or how far away it is. So can you do your best work now? Can you put forth that best effort now? And life is so precious. I mean, I had at the end of last year, I met with a friend of mine who, she said, oh, I really need to talk to you. We've got to sit down. So I was like, yeah, sure. Let's, have dinner. And so she says, I've been wanting to write this book. I've been working on it for 2 years, and I've been watching you. And if you can do it, I can do it. But would you support me? And so I was like, yeah, sure. She's like, I want to show you, make sure it's good. She starts pulling out all of these poems she has on her cell phone, all of this stuff, and it's good. It's juicy. We sit down at that dinner. We outline the thing. We're going to do X, Y, and Z, outline her whole book. And so she's like, okay, next break, because she was a teacher. Next break we'll work on it. Okay, cool. She did not make it to the next break we had. By the third week or second week of January, she was dead. She was sitting on material for 2 years, trying to perfect it before she could release it. We don't give birth at the moment of perfection. Babies are not born when they're perfected. They're born when it's time for them to come out. Stop holding on to so many things because you want it to be the right time, the right season. You want it to be Netflix ready. You want it to be, no, you got to release it and cultivate it and grow it and comb its hair and make sure it looks presentable for Netflix.
Oh my goodness, that is such a powerful statement. And I it's interesting because I think about, and those of you that have been following the podcast for a while, you guys have heard me talk about it. My mother passed away while she was working on her first book. And it was like, now I said, for me, for her birthday, what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish the book on her birthday. Now I'm nervous because I don't know what she was writing. So if it goes against what I've already been writing, guys, y'all just gonna have to flow with it because that's my mama, and I'm just going to have to get it published and blink twice later. But it's a thing of, we always say that the wealthiest place in the world is the grave. Because there's ideas there, there's books, there's businesses, all because somebody was too scared just to go ahead and move.
Mm-hmm. And that was my refusal. That was my refusal, was out, because it took a while for me to get. And if there's any person who's like, I'm too old right now, you're not too old. My first book was released in 2014. So math is not my strong point. So if y'all wonder why I'm pausing so much, it's like, backtrack. So in about 2 weeks, I'll be 37. So 3 years ago, what was that? I was 34, right? So you're not too old. Success is not for the 20s. It's not for the young people. It's not for, don't look at that meme that's like, oh, you shouldn't be working hard when you're 30. I'm 30 something, almost 40, and I'm working hard. I am not going to even make y'all think that this is just, it's fairy dust and unicorn butter. No, I am working hard, and you are still, and it's okay if you're working hard, because you're working in your passion and you're working in your purpose and you're doing what you love and want to do. Don't let it be now that you think, I'm too old to launch this, I'm too old to start this, because I took a lot of pauses. I always knew I wanted to write, and I always knew that I wanted to be an author, and I took a lot of different pauses. And then it was like, you know what? Thou shalt pause no more. We're going to do this. That's it. I got God. God got me. And there's no good thing that he'll withhold from me. So let me go after it. If that doesn't work, then I know it wasn't good. But let me try it, and let's see what he opens up. And he just keeps on opening up doors. So it's good for me. So you won't know if the door's going to open if you don't step to the door.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I think that's such a powerful moment right there. Just, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. Yeah, maybe it may turn into a movie. It may turn into a book, a show. There's so many opportunities available to us right now. So many opportunities, but you'll never know it.
And you won't. And it's also, opportunities are available also that you create. A lot of times we are waiting and we're missing the mark because we're waiting for somebody to give us an opportunity, create an opportunity, make a slot. Some people, you only want to show up until somebody invites you. But sometimes you got to bust into the room so somebody wants to invite you to the next room. If you were not there and you weren't present, they don't want to invite you. And so sometimes you have to create this presence and make it possible for people to invite you somewhere. They've got to see you, and you've got to make yourself visible and create those opportunities for yourself. So if you're waiting for somebody to do a film for you, you better get your little iPhone 7 and film one chapter of your book. Sit down with iMovies, edit that bad boy, and put it on YouTube, put it on something, put it somewhere, and let that first chapter speak for you. If you're waiting for somebody, because everybody's not going to call you. And as you see, a lot of times, Hollywood lately, they've been rehashing a lot of old stories, even though there are lots of fresh people sending in scripts, doing all this. They're rehashing, they're doing a redux of everything. Everything is being done over. So if you want them to hear your new voice, you got to put your new voice out there instead of waiting for them to just knock, look for you, and they're going to find you.
Yeah. You got to give yourself permission to be great, even in your own circle, in your own world. Give yourself permission to be great.
Yes, exactly. Give yourself permission to be great, and don't shrink so you could fit into somebody else's cup. Do not shrink so somebody else can tolerate you, so somebody else can understand you. If they don't understand your vision, if they don't understand what you are walking in, you better go on and keep walking and keep living it, because you will miss the moment. When I started out, when I was working on Born at Dawn, I was going to pitch it at a contest. And I was up nights and nights and nights, days and nights, writing, working. And a friend of mine said, oh man, I don't know why you're doing all that work. You're not going to make it anywhere. I could have accepted that. But I was like, wait, hold on. You don't believe in me? And you don't believe in my God? Hold on, we're about to show you something. Went, got the deal. That book became my award-winning book. Next book, Publishers Weekly Review. You got to go out and go as far out as you believe you can go. Do not accept anybody's limited beliefs or values. And because people don't understand and they're not willing to pay what you're worth, that doesn't mean that's not your value.
That's right.
That means they're not for you. That's all that means. They are not you. That's it. And you got to have that moment where you like Jesus. He went into his own. They did not receive him. And he was like, but you know what? Who else is willing to? Y'all can have salvation. So who else is willing to receive your book, willing to receive your idea, your message, and your words? That's where you take it. And you don't focus on who won't receive you. And that's why a lot of times there are books that are delayed 10 years because we're like trying to make it valid to people who it's not for. It's not for them.
Exactly.
It's not for them.
Exactly. Woo-wee. Man, oh man, this here conversation, if y'all didn't know, has been fire. So you guys know that I always ask this question of every author or speaker that comes on. And I ask, what was one of the blunders when it came to writing or publishing your book? It can be the first one, it can be one of the other ones, but what was something that she was just like, oh, it was one of those dope moments?
Oh my gosh. I think I kind of have two, but I can condense them almost because they're like one and the same, which is one thing I did. My first book was handwritten, but it turned out that was like over 80,000 words. So going from handwritten to typing it up was like, that was like a nightmare. That was the worst nightmare. But then when I submitted it to the publisher to be published, after all the editing and all the changes, I was over the word count. And they wanted me to like cut stuff so that I could get under the word count. And I was like cutting and clipping where I could. And finally I turned it into them. And I was like, oh, you know what? The Holy Ghost ain't let me cut nothing else. I don't have nothing else left to cut. This is it. Y'all got to take it like this. And that's it. And thank God, my editor there, she was a Christian too. She was like, if the Holy Ghost said it, that's it. We're going to leave it alone. But really, it needs to be shorter. And so then I, in hindsight, started writing less so that when I have to edit and I need to add, I can add without going over the word count and being concerned about what I need to take out. Because a lot of times we get married to the words, we get married to the scene. Every scene matters. Everything matters. It doesn't. But there's this moment where you feel like if everything matters and I can't clip it, I can't cut it, what's it going to be? But once I started writing under my word count goal, I didn't have to worry about what I was going to cut. If something needed to be added, I can add it. I got the words. I'm a writer. I can add it. But that cut is so hard. What's that song? The first cut is the deepest. Like the first thing that the editor says got to go, you don't want to let it go. So it was like, I won't have to worry about taking out 10,000 words if I just write a little less.
Right. Yeah, truly. And you said it right there. 'Cause Lord knows editing is not my friend. It is not my friend. And I tell people all the time, don't try to edit your own stuff. Please don't edit as you writing. Just go ahead, write, and give it to whoever does it.
Exactly. I tell everyone when they're stuck, listen, your first draft, don't worry about cleaning it. Oh, I'm waiting. I need the right sentence to start. Listen, first draft, treat it like vomit. Spit it out and clean it up later. Just get it out. And then you can make it make sense later on. But if you're focused on that perfect beginning, you will never get to the perfect end.
Yes, that is so true. Or you'll get into that moment of you so stuck on this. Now when it's time to write the rest, you're like, oh, now you done lost it. You done lost your places in.
Mhm.
Lost it.
Everything is gone. You're frustrated by the story. You can't get your focus back.
All the time. So guys, I want to say thank you again to Nigeria and for coming and joining me today on Speak Easy. Guys, you know that you have an opportunity to be on this podcast simply by going to bit.ly/Speak Easy podcast, all lowercase. You can definitely connect with me. And if you would like to be a part of the blog collaboration, contact at outtoBespelzer.com and put blog collaboration in the subject line. So Nigeria, could you let them know where they can find you and find your books?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, you can find me at my website first, nigerialockley.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Nigeria Lockley, and you can find me on Instagram at New Nigeria. Can I tell you, I'm really fun on Instagram, though. I think on Instagram, I'll be living my best life, y'all. So catch me over there, too. The books, all of my books are available on Amazon, except for my last release, Pursuing Your Passion in Godly Fashion. You can get that at Gumroad, because I did something a little different there. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I took control of my rights. I took control of my book. I took control of my paper. So that's a whole other story and situation. That's another interview we got to do. So if you want the last one, that you're going to find at Gumroad. Everything else is available on Amazon. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Altavis for creating this wonderful platform where authors can connect, speakers can connect, where we can support each other, and where somebody can tell you what's really going on in these writing and speaking streets.
Yes.
And not just show you the highlight reel, because you will get stuck into the highlight reel. And when you are sitting down and looking like Halle Berry in Jungle Fever, and you can't figure out how to get to the next level, and you're like, that is not what my coach told me. That's not what she showed me when I signed on. But you could get the real deal here. So I want to thank her so much for having me on and creating this platform for us all.
Oh, you're definitely welcome. And you said that right there. When you said that the last one was on Gumroad, I already started smiling. Those of you that are authors already, you already know. But those of you that are not, you're going to learn. I got like 3 on Gumroad. You're going to learn. You're going to learn that lesson. It's taking back that power, and that's what this platform is all about, is giving you back that power. If we give you the information, then you are empowered to make the right choices, to connect with the right people, because let's be honest, when we first started thinking about writing and hearing about being an author, you had to go through these publishing companies that you got paid a penny per book, and they got paid everything. So there's so many things for you to think about. Now you can publish on your own. You have publishing companies. Nigeria has a publishing company. You have publishing companies that know what you're going through because they've been through it, and they're not going to steer you wrong.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's the change that we need to see.
Exactly. There it is. So I appreciate you guys. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode of Speak Easy. And remember, don't forget, all the information will be down in the description box. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow me on whichever platform you may be seeing this particular replay. I appreciate you guys. And don't forget to press it out.